Welcome back, students. In this video, we'll work on simplifying radicals. To simplify radicals, it's nice if you have your perfect squares memorized and in the front of your mind. We know that 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. Here's 6 squared, 7 squared, 8, 9, and 10. These numbers, 81, 49, 16, 25, they pop up in radical expressions often and can be simplified quickly if we remember that these numbers are all perfect squares. Now here's what is meant by simplifying radicals. Let's take the square root of 50 and break it down as the product of 2 numbers. But one of the numbers should be from our list of perfect squares. Is 50 divisible by anything in this list? Let's see. There it is, 25. 50 is 25 times 2. Now I'm allowed to break this apart as the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. I know what the square root of 25 is. It's 5. I don't have the square root of 2 as a perfect value, so we'll leave it this way. On a calculator, the square root of 50 would be some type of a decimal. It would be the same decimal as if you multiplied the square root of 2 times 5. This is considered simplified. Let's try it again. Is 63 divisible by anything in our list? Start with 100. Is 63 divisible by 100 or 81? No, no. Is it divisible by 36 or 25? No. It is divisible by 9. 63 is divisible by 9. 63 is 9 times 7. Let's break that apart as the square root of 9 times the square root of 7. Where the square root of 9 is 3, and I can't take the square root of 7 nicely, so we'll leave it as 3 radical 7. Now the square root of 48 is kind of a strange example. It can actually be worked 2 ways. 48 is, well, let's see, from my list, it's divisible by 4. 48 is 4 times 12. That's the square root of 4 times the square root of 12, which is 2 square root 12. That's more simplified than that, but it's not the best way. You see, 48 is not only divisible by 4 from our list, 48 is also divisible by 16. 48 is 16 times 3. If I break that apart and then take the square root of 16, there's my best answer. My best answer is when what's inside the radical sign is as small as possible. This value and this value, they're equal to each other, but this has got a larger value inside the square root, so this one is considered simplified. If you've got 2 different ways to work the problem, take the largest number possible out so that you have the smallest possible number left in. Now for 4 radical 18, we'll start by ignoring the 4 and breaking down the 18. What number from our list of perfect squares divides evenly into 18? 49, no, no, 25, no, there it is. 18 is divisible by 9. 18 is 9 divided by 2. Let's rewrite that as 4 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. That's 4 times the square root of 9 is 3. Can't take the square root of 2. That's 12 times the square root of 2. That's great. Let's try 3 radical 28. Copy the 3. Break down the 28. What is 28 divisible by from our list of perfect squares? The only one in our list of perfect squares that divides 28 is 4. 28 is 4 times 7. Copy the 3. Let's break the square root of 4 times 7 up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 7. Copy the 3. Take the square root of 4. Can't take the square root of 7. And 3 times 2 is 6. We'll call that 6 radical 7. Before we work these problems, let's give ourselves a reminder. Let's remember that the square root of -1 is equal to I. That's the imaginary unit. Now let's see if we can break down the square root of -75. Think of 75, -75, as -1 times 75 is 75 divisible by anything in our list. There it is. 75 is 25 times 3. Let's break this apart into 3 radicals. -1 multiplied by the square root of 25 multiplied by the square root of 3. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of -1 is I. Can't take the square root of 3. Usually we like to write the I at the end of a number, unless there's a square root, in which case it's customary to put it between the real part, the rational part, and the irrational part. Let's try this one. Copy the 6. Break -45 down as -1 times. Which of our perfect squares divides into 45? There it is. 45 is divisible by 9. 45 is 9 times 5. Copy the 6. Break this apart. -1 times square root 9 times square root 5. Copy the 6. The square root of -1 is I. The square root of 9 is 3. Can't take the square root of 5. 6 times 3 is 18. That's 18 I times the square root of 5. All right, you go practice for a while and then meet me back here.